What if the stars, your coffee mug, your landlord, and that one embarrassing thing you said in 2017 are all running on somebody else's hardware? That idea sounds like dorm room bait. It sounds like the sort of thing a man says right before explaining crypto to a hostage. Yet the question has lingered because it pokes at something older than computers. It asks whether reality is truly what it seems, or whether the world is a stage set with very convincing wallpaper. The old version of this question came from religion, myth, and philosophy. The new version comes dressed in silicon. Plato had his cave. Descartes had his evil demon. We have video games, rendering engines, and nerds with podcasts. Same anxiety, better graphics. The simulation idea, at first glance, has a certain cheap charm. We build little worlds inside machines. Those worlds get richer every year. Characters grow more lifelike. Environments become more detailed. The gap between what is simulated and what feels real keeps shrinking. So people take one more step and say, if we can do this in crude form now, perhaps some far greater civilization already did it at a level beyond our grasp. Perhaps we are the game. Perhaps history is a server log. And there is a reason this catches the public imagination. It gives modern people a cosmic frame without asking them to kneel. It offers transcendence for those who distrust heaven. It is metaphysics for a managerial age. No angels, no liturgy, plenty of processing power. A theology for men who think a data center is holier than a cathedral because it hums. The most famous argument in this territory is not really an argument that we are in a simulation. It is an argument about probabilities. It says that one of three things must be true. Either advanced civilizations almost always die before they can build vast numbers of realistic ancestor simulations, or they survive, yet choose not to run many of them. Or they do run many of them, in which case simulated minds would vastly outnumber original biological minds. If simulated observers are far more common than base-level observers, then the odds would seem to tilt against us. It has a certain icy neatness. That is why smart people keep chewing on it. It does not try to prove a programmer with a glowing keyboard. It tries to corner you with arithmetic. If advanced beings can simulate entire civilizations, and if they run many such worlds, then statistically speaking, we are likely to be inside one. That lands with force because modern man trusts numbers more than priests. Give him a syllogism with percentages, and he begins to nod like a dashboard ornament. But there is a catch. The argument leans on a stack of assumptions so tall it could qualify for low Earth orbit. First, it assumes consciousness can be simulated in the relevant sense. That is not a small assumption. We do not even know what consciousness is. We know a great deal about brains. We can map regions, model behavior, and still remain baffled by the fact that there is something it feels like to be you. The redness of red, the sting of shame, the warmth of memory, the silent ache of grief. A spreadsheet can track inputs and outputs. It cannot tell you why pain hurts. That sounds obvious because it is. Some truths do not improve when wrapped in jargon. Second, the argument assumes that civilizations with immense power would want to run billions of ancestor simulations. Perhaps they would. Perhaps they would be curious. Perhaps they would be sentimental. Perhaps they would be bored, which has launched many regrettable enterprises. Yet it is equally possible that advanced societies would find such projects immoral, trivial, or impossibly expensive. A civilization able to simulate worlds may also be civilized enough to think making trillions of suffering digital beings is poor manners. Third, the argument assumes the number of simulations would become enormous. That is guesswork. Elegant guesswork, but still guesswork. And philosophy has a long tradition of dressing guesswork in a tuxedo and calling it destiny. Then there is the deeper issue. Even if reality had an underlying computational structure, would that mean it is a simulation in the ordinary sense? Not necessarily. A world can be derived from rules without being fake. The weather follows rules. Crystals form through rules. Life itself unfolds through astonishing regularities. Calling reality computational may describe its structure, without settling its status. A thing can be lawful and still be real. Your taxes prove this. People often point to physics here. They note that the universe contains limits, constants, and strange quantized features. But resemblance is not identity. A brick wall and graph paper both have lines. That does not make your house a notebook. Besides, every age projects its favorite machines onto the cosmos. Ancient people saw the world as a kingdom, a drama, or a living organism. The mechanical age pictured the universe as a clock. The industrial age favored engines. Our age, being unable to enter a room without inventing a new password, pictures the universe as software. Man keeps making God in the image of his latest device, then acting startled when the machine stares back. Still, the simulation idea survives because it scratches two itches at once. It flatters the intellect and relieves the soul. It flatters the intellect because it sounds advanced. It relieves the soul because it suggests that behind chaos there may be intention. Maybe the world is not random after all. Maybe someone wrote it. Maybe suffering has context. Maybe history has authorship. That is a powerful lure. Yet the theory is often used in the opposite spirit. Instead of deepening moral seriousness, it can cheapen it. If life is only simulated, people say, then perhaps nothing matters. Perhaps death is a logout. Perhaps cruelty is cosmetic. This is adolescent nonsense with a motherboard. A simulated pain would still hurt to the one feeling it. A simulated betrayal would still wound. If conscious experience exists, then moral weight exists. It does not vanish because the floorboards are code. There is also a practical problem. The hypothesis explains everything too easily, which means it explains very little. Any weird fact about the universe can be waved away by saying the programmers wanted it that way. At that point, the theory starts behaving like a cosmic shrug. Science advances by giving us claims that can be tested. The simulation idea has a hard time there. People sometimes propose signs we might look for, little cracks in the wallpaper. Perhaps there are pixel-like limits to space. And if the simulation is deep enough, then by definition, it may be built to hide its own status. That protects the theory from disproof, which is intellectually convenient, in the same way a smoke alarm is convenient when the batteries are removed. It makes a great many things easier, and none of them better. So where does that leave us? Somewhere more interesting than a flat yes or no. The simulation hypothesis is worth taking seriously as a philosophical exercise. It humbles the easy confidence that our common sense captures the world as it truly is. At the same time, the hypothesis is weak as a final worldview. It borrows the structure of older religious thought while draining much of its substance. It gives you a creator without worship, design without duty, transcendence without holiness. It is a haunted house with all the ghosts replaced by engineers. For some people, that is comforting. For others, it feels thin. A programmer god may explain the machinery. He does not tell you what love is for. And that, I think, is where the whole matter turns. Do they want proof that reality has an author? Then the simulation idea is a sideways confession that pure materialism leaves them cold. Do they want an escape hatch from mortality? Then they are still hunting immortality, only with servers instead of souls. I suspect many people are drawn to the simulation theory because they can feel, dimly, that modern life has made reality seem thin. Screens mediate experience. Bureaucracy flattens meaning. Entertainment colonizes attention. People spend so much time in artificial environments that the old sense of the world's majesty grows faint. So they reach for a dramatic reversal. They want someone to say, no, beneath all this sterile routine is a mystery after all. And there is. There always was. The irony is that the simulation idea often comes from the very habits that helped drain wonder in the first place. We have become so surrounded by our own devices that we now think the highest mystery must resemble a device. We no longer see a burning bush. We see a user interface. It is a melancholy little downgrade. Yet even here, there is something noble. The simulation question reveals that people have not stopped yearning. They still want the world to mean something. I suspect many are right. The world does have depth. Consciousness is stranger than our slogans. Existence is grander than our diagrams. The mystery is real even if the simulation is not. So when somebody asks whether the universe is a simulation, the best answer may be this. Probably not in the way your phone-addled century means it. Yet the hunger behind the question is honest. We live in a universe that refuses to become fully ordinary. It keeps slipping out of our categories. That is why the question will stay with us. Because even now, with all our machines and measurements, reality still feels slightly larger than the room. And that is either very good news or a sign that the developers have a sense of humor. Watch the next video. This has been Elwin with Elenarda. End transmission.